It's possible to change any habit, and this is a way to learn almost anything. In order to make this most effective, I recommend that you think of a habit that you'd like to change. Think of that now. What kind of habit do you want to alter? And pick a few so that you can focus on one or two habits while listening to this. They might be habits you want to eliminate, or they could be habits that you want to add. These could be habits about health or speaking or work, your personal life, your professional life. Make your list. You can write down several habits that you want to change. This is one technique that I teach that I actually know saves lives. Years ago, after I taught this technique, a man called up and he was so excited. He said, "You saved my life." We said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "I was just in a terrible car crash. The first thing the Highway Patrol told me is that I would not be alive without my seatbelt. And it was because of this technique that I started fastening my seatbelt, and therefore I'm alive." What are some things that you could change, habits that would improve the quality? Yeah, Kim.
Eat slowly and with consideration of what I'm eating.
Yeah, a lot of people eat very quickly and don't even consider what they're eating. Kim knows he does that. He wants to change it. He wants to develop a new habit, which is slow and considerate eating. Great. Yes, Latrice.
I watch way too much TV.
Okay, Latrice has a habit of watching TV. She wants to eliminate that habit, so maybe she'll still watch TV once in a while, but it won't be habitual, right? Very good. What's another habit? So there's a habit you want to add, there's a habit you want to eliminate. D.
I want to start exercising.
Yeah, so D wants to develop a habit of regular exercise. Great. A habit, Charles.
Getting annoyed.
Oh, yes. Now, I really like this because Charles has just kind of expanded the notion of a habit to even annoyance. I mean, a lot of people think, well, you want to get rid of annoyance, go see a shrink. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's fine to go see a counselor if you want to see a counselor or a therapist, but maybe being annoyed a lot is just a habit. I actually think it is, and I think that this process that I'm going to describe about how to change a habit or learn anything could be used to even stop being annoyed so much. It's just a habit. What's another habit, Dennis?
Giving advice when I ask.
Whoa, now here we're really expanding, because some people think that giving advice when you don't ask for it is a genetic defect. No, I don't think so. I think it's just a habit. It doesn't require any genetic redispositioning. It doesn't require any long-term therapy. Maybe it's just a habit. Okay, now we're really expanding the notion of a habit. Give me a few more, Deborah.
Using my cards, planning on a scheduled basis.
Planning on a regularly scheduled basis. Yes, it's just a habit. And you can change. If you don't have that habit, now you can develop it. What's another one? Yes.
Not expressing my thoughts or feelings.
Now, once again, Kim's kind of expanding on the notion of what a habit is. He's saying that maybe a habit is not expressing your thoughts and feelings. Not being expressive. Maybe that's just a habit. Whoa. Yes, David, one more.
Barking orders.
Barking orders, yeah. Being like too assertive, too aggressive, just barking out orders. Maybe that's just a habit. I think so. Dolores.
I've got to lighten up and not be so serious, be more joyful.
Wow, what if this were true? Now, this is enough examples, and I want to end on this one because it's such a great one. What if being light and joyful and not so serious was just a habit? I actually think it is. And I think that Dolores can develop that habit of being more light and more joyful, just like Latrice can develop a habit of not watching as much television, and Kim can develop a habit of eating slowly and consciously, and Charles can develop a habit of not being annoyed. I really believe that. I even think how you look is a habit. What are your examples? If you're watching this with someone else, speak your examples to each other. If you're watching this alone, write down more examples. Now that you've heard other people talk about the habits they're going to change, write down the habits that you're going to change. I even think how you look is a habit. Now some of you think, well, no, you're carrying this too far, Dave. How I look, I was born like this. No, you weren't. I've seen a lot of babies, and none of them look like you.
They don't. You look like that out of years of habitually holding your face in a particular way. And for some of you, the way you look is inconsistent with your heart. I've known a lot of people when I travel around the country and talk particularly to college professors that are older men. They often look a lot like Tip O'Neill with these big jowls. And they say, you know, I'm a very happy person. I don't understand why students don't approach me. I'm warm and friendly. Now, being a guy that likes to grant people their reality, I say, of course you're warm and friendly. Obviously you are. And someone ought to tell your face. Because sometimes our face doesn't match who we're being. And I think that's true for a few of you. And maybe how you hold your face, how you look, is just a habit. Maybe. So you've got a habit you want to change? Here's the first step. Commit to it. Promise that you will change. Promise to yourself. Promise to others. I will change that habit. I will eat slow and consciously. I promise I will not watch so much television. Some of you are thinking, whoa, wait a minute. This is like a New Year's resolution. I promise and I won't fulfill. Well, that's true. It would be a New Year's resolution if we didn't have steps 2, 3, and 4. But we got a 4-step program here. Now, yeah, I know you want to know the second step because you don't like the first one. But the second step won't work without the first one. The first step is I promise I will change. I promise. You can count on me. We're right at the top of the ladder. That ladder of powerful speaking, we're at the top. So don't change too many habits at once. 3, 4, 5, who knows? But don't get overloaded because the first thing you're doing is making a solemn promise you'll change. You say, well, I don't know though. What if I promise and I fail? So, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You can fail. No, but I don't give my word. I don't give my word unless I can keep it. Well, that's too bad. Really? Because I think if you only give your word when you can keep it, you're not practicing giving your word. I mean, a lot of people are real proud of themselves. They say, well, I'm a man of integrity because I never break my word. Well, I think that's then a proof that you don't give your word enough. That you give your word too small, too infrequently. To really be a person of integrity is to give your word a lot and big and fulfill on it most of the time. But the only way you'll know if you're giving it enough is if once in a while you fail. Well, here's the second step now. The second step is to set up a feedback system, to monitor your progress, to keep track of how you're doing in this promise that you've made. Some kind of a way that you can track your results. So, for example, it might be a journal where every day, Kim, you could write down how well you're doing at eating consciously and slowly. And the purpose for writing that down, maybe every day or even at every meal, but maybe at your dinner table where you're eating, so it's always at home, is that it will start you to focus on your commitment, remind you of your commitment, and then you can start to track to see how you're doing. Latrine. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8. This is time, and this is some number. Like in this case, it might be the number of hours that you're watching television. So the first day you might notice that you watch that much. Second day you watch that much. Third day you watch this much. Fourth day you watch this much. So what you're doing is you're tracking, and in your case, because you're wanting to decrease the habit, you want this chart to go down. Because that's the change that you want to see. So you could set up a chart, you could set up a journal, you could buy a calendar and give yourself a grade every day. You could say, how am I doing at being irritated? Well, if you're not irritated at all, you can give yourself an A. If you're irritated a little, you can give yourself a B. If you're irritated as much as you usually were, you give yourself a C. If you're irritated more than you used to be irritated, you give yourself a D. I don't know how you do it. Somehow you set up a monitoring system. Let me give you a couple of more practical examples that I did. I wanted to fasten my seatbelt every time I got in a car. Every time. Not just 90% of the time. So I promised to do it, and then I set up a monitoring system. What I did was I got my daughters involved. This was several years ago when they lived at home. Actually, just one daughter. And I told her that every time she caught me without my seatbelt, I'd give her a quarter. She thought this was fun. So, we'd be driving and she'd say, seatbelt. I'd give her a quarter, And pretty soon I had to put little tick marks on a piece of paper and pay her at the end of the month. At the end of the week, actually. It didn't take me a month, but it took me a while. And she got clever. One time she came out to say goodbye to me when I left for work because she realized that every time I drove out of the garage, I would fasten my seatbelt after I got out. So sometimes you can get others involved. I had another habit, which was I used to walk more like a chicken than a person. And like this. My head out in front of my body. I didn't bob it like that, but sometimes I did. And now my mother said it's genetic. It's not a habit. It's a genetic thing. Your grandfather did it. He did it because he was in a hurry and he wanted his face to get there before his body. So I was kind of proud of it. But in fact, my sister, who's a physical therapist, said, Dave, that's not such a good idea. It's better if you walk more like a person. Because then your spine's straight, you won't develop problems, and just give it a shot. So I promised. And then I got other people involved. One of them was my wife, and another one was some people at work. And I asked them that every time they noticed me kind of going like this, they would just say posture. And then I would know, stand up like this. Hey, I can do that. So you set up a monitoring system, a chart, a journal, a calendar, a grade. I told you earlier that I wanted to improve my mood, so I give myself a score from -10 to +10. That's just a change of habit. And you monitor. Now, be a little careful here if you get other people involved, because sometimes you can get angry at the feedback. I remember one time I was walking along with Tricia. I was walking along, we were talking, and she said, posture. And I got so angry inside. I'd ask her to do it. I don't know. All she said was posture. She's just doing what I asked for, but I was so mad, so I did this. Okay, so the next step in this system is to practice, because habits take a while to change, and practice some more, and then practice some more. Now people say, well, how long does it take to change a habit? Well, it depends on the habit. There's no formula here. Some habits take just a few minutes, like my fingernail biting. I tried everything until I tried this. I painted my fingernails with that stuff, and I still bit them, and it just didn't taste good. I even put tape across them like that. I still worked on it. It's just, I tried everything, but it didn't work. So finally I promised. And then I set up a monitoring system. I put a little tick mark in my calendar at work every time I noticed I was biting my fingernails. So I'd notice that the tick mark should decrease. Well, I just practiced for about an hour. I was so tired of putting tick marks in my calendar, it was so interrupting my workflow that I stopped. And I never did it again. That fast. But not all habits. That seatbelt one, well, that took a lot of practice. About $37.50 worth. That posture habit, that's really a lot of improvement after 6 months. And still once in a while you'll notice, I'll just kind of fall into that. But the point is to practice without reproach. What's reproach? Reproach is that thing where you go and kick yourself every time you make a mistake. No, let that go. You just practice and practice and practice. Be gentle upon yourself. Why be gentle on yourself? It's because otherwise you will quit practicing. If you're practicing and every time you make a mistake you hit yourself, pretty soon you will hurt and you'll quit practicing. The final step in this process is to celebrate. It's just to celebrate that you've altered a habit. Because the more you celebrate, the more you'll know you're capable. You're capable of changing your TV practices, or your exercise, or your amount of joy, or your eating program, or whatever it is that you want to change. And you celebrate that. And then you can change any habit and every habit. And what if you were just a collection of habits?
So this is everything right here. I had one of the goals, the big goals I had when I came here was to be in a way that I got what I wanted all the time. And this is everything. If all all of the practices that we've been talking about, everything in your books, just assume they work. If you do this, and if we are a collection of habits, you can do anything.
Right. And you can, here's the other piece. Thank you. You can completely alter yourself in the way that you want to be. You're not hardwired, is my opinion. And if you would talk to people who've known me for 20 years, 30 years, I'm not who I was. Really. I used to get very irritated, a lot. I've put my fists through walls. I've screamed at people. I've been mean. I've been out of shape. I've been a poor eater. I've eaten poorly in terms of my nutrition. I've been broke. I've been an ineffective money manager. I've been a terrible procrastinator. And I just considered all those things to not be genetic defects, not be personality disorders. They're none of that, from my point of view. They're just habits.
I might have even heard it in the last workshop, but I'm not getting it till right now that this is actually, you could have just, probably not, because I didn't hear it all through the workshop, but you could have probably have just done this, and this is the workshop.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thanks. I had to warm you up first. Yeah. Well, for you, I had to warm you up twice.